Tonight, digging out after a devastating winter storm pounds eastern Canada. The piles of snow that buried parts of Ontario.
Brutal. I've never seen nothing like this.
And how the East Coast isn't in the clear just yet. The desperate search for armed suspects and clues after a fatal shooting on a Saskatchewan First Nation.
Investigating the scene and interviewing witnesses to determine whether the shooting is random or targeted.
And dialing up so-called emergencies.
Okay, so you're trying to call 911, an emergency service, to know what's wrong with the traffic?
Revealing the most curious 911 calls of the year.
What are you wanting police to do?
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Heather Butts.
Good evening. Millions of Canadians are facing an icy end to the year with weather warnings in place from coast to coast. Freezing rain, brutal cold, and blinding snow slamming parts of the country. New footage is giving us a clear picture of just how much snow has buried parts of northern Ontario. Have a look at this video out of Cochrane, Ontario, about an hour north of Timmins, where a snowdrift is piled almost chest high at the front door. It'll take a bit of a climb to get out until the snow is cleared. The massive storm that crawled across the country left people from Ontario to Atlantic Canada dealing with a dangerous mix of ice, snow, and wind. CTV's Sarah Plowman on how people are handling it so far.
In Timmins, Ontario, the weight of winter is piling up. After a blizzard buried the community in 50 to 60 centimeters of snow.
The last storm I seen like this was probably back in the 80s.
Snow squalls and strong winds hit Barrie, making roads risky to be on. This crash on Highway 11 outside the city. This week's storm blasted much of eastern Canada with snow, ice, or freezing rain. About an hour west of Waterloo, there were whiteout conditions and road closures.
This storm has been around a long time, came Sunday, and here it is Tuesday, and we're still talking about it.
In Montreal, paramedics were called for hundreds of falls on ice. Freezing rain has passed. Now some roads are rinks. It was less fun at the Halifax airport as passengers deal with delays.
Supposed to be going to the Florida Keys, so we're crossing our fingers. We'll get out. We're supposed to be there now.
In Fredericton last night, a city bus landed in a ditch after it slid off a road in slippery conditions, snapped a power pole, and flipped on its side. Police say 7, including the driver, went to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. CTV News spoke with one passenger who says he helped others get out through the roof of the bus.
There was 2 people that I had noticed were in very, very bad shape and definitely needed medical help right away.
It was one of dozens of collisions in New Brunswick. Today's challenge is navigating the sidewalks.
Not used to the ice here, probably going to fall.
Here in Fredericton, icy conditions are likely to persist, but city crews continue to sand and scrape the ice away. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
It's a similar scene south of the border where winter weather has caused chaos on the ground and in the air. Damaging winds and heavy snow left tens of thousands without power across the American Midwest and Great Lakes. Blizzard conditions are blamed for numerous multi-vehicle crashes, as well as thousands of delays at major airports. Frigid winds off Lake Erie left cars encased in ice, and in Buffalo, winds reached hurricane force at 125 kilometers an hour. RCMP have called off a dangerous persons alert for 2 suspects wanted in a deadly shooting northwest of Saskatoon, as investigators believe there's no longer an imminent risk to the public. One person was killed at Big Island, Cree Nation, 3 others injured. CTV's Alison Bamford is following the story. What are Mounties sharing about the investigation, Alison?
Heather, RCMP say they don't know who is responsible, what they might look like, or where they might be as Mounties continue to search for 2 armed suspects believed to be linked to the fatal shooting on Big Island Lake, Cree Nation, nearly 400 kilometers northwest of Saskatchewan. RCMP say 1 person is dead, another 3 injured after being shot this morning. The suspects were last seen driving an ATV on the First Nation.
All day, Saskatchewan RCMP police officers have been actively searching for the 2 suspects. Officers are, as well, investigating the scene and interviewing witnesses to determine whether the shooting is random or targeted.
RCMP issued an emergency alert for Big Island Lake and surrounding area that stretched into Alberta, warning the public to stay inside. The First Nation went into lockdown, and the head of security there told us gates were closed at the only 2 roads that lead in and out of the reserve. Out of an abundance of caution, the Saskatchewan Health Authority placed 7 of its facilities in surrounding communities under lockdown as well. RCMP called off its alert earlier this evening, allowing the public to return to normal activity. If there is a renewed safety risk, Mounties say they will let the public know. Heather?
Alison Bamford in Saskatoon. We are hearing from the family of a Quebec couple found dead while on vacation in the Dominican Republic. CTV's Caitlin Wilson has more on their questions and search for answers.
For Alain Noel and his wife Christine Sauvé, it was a dream home in Villarriva in the Dominican Republic where they planned to retire. It's where they were spending the holidays when they were found dead on Boxing Day.
We're like in big shock, everybody here, and I don't know. It's hard to go day by day, but we're trying.
Christine's brother, Gilles Sauvé Jr., says the couple was discovered in their bed by their adult son, who had traveled there for Christmas. He says his sister felt unwell the day before she died, lightheaded enough to go to the hospital for blood work.
She was supposed to come back the day after because it was almost everything closed there, but they didn't pass the night, so both of them.
Sauvé is now in the Dominican Republic with the couple's 2 children, waiting for autopsy results that could take up to a month.
There's nothing that is close of being suicide or a murder or a violence or something like that. There's a sickness, there's something there, but we don't know what.
Global Affairs Canada confirms to CTV News it is aware of the deaths of 2 Canadian citizens and says consular assistance is being provided, but no further details are being released due to privacy. Despite that, Sauvé says he has not been able to speak directly with local police or Canadian officials.
That is the big wish, yeah, for sure, to have a little bit more help that's on this side here.
Back home, the family is well known in Gatineau for years of community involvement, including fundraising for Ottawa's Children's Hospital CHEO and close ties to the Gatineau Olympiques, which issued a statement offering its condolences. And as they wait for answers, Sauvé says the focus now is on bringing the couple back to Canada.
Very good family of 4, very tight family, very nice family. It's everything.
Caitlin Wilson, CTV News, Ottawa.
Holiday travel plans for thousands of passengers in Europe were derailed today after power supply issues forced the rail tunnel linking Britain and continental Europe to be closed. Travelers were left scrambling as Eurostar trains were temporarily suspended between London, Paris, Brussels and Amsterdam. The services have since resumed, but Eurostar is advising travelers to postpone their journeys if possible as it tries to work through the backlog. The cause of the power supply issue remains unknown. The FBI says motorcycles which belong to alleged Canadian drug kingpin Ryan Wedding are worth an estimated $40 million. Seized in raids in Mexico last week, CTV's Judy Trin looks at why authorities are releasing these photos now.
Dozens of high-powered motorcycles worth about $40 million, seized in raids conducted by Mexican authorities with assistance from the FBI, Los Angeles Police, and the RCMP. Authorities say the bikes belong to fugitive Ryan Wedding and contain valuable clues.
These motorcycles may be being used to transport the narcotics into the United States or across the United States into Canada.
Investigators believe the former Olympic snowboarder is being hidden by the Sinaloa cartel.
Their ability to protect Wedding, consequently, is starting to crumble.
After the Trump administration declared drug cartels terrorist organizations earlier this year, Mexico increased efforts to ferret out wedding. Analysts say it's to avoid potential U.S. attacks like the one on suspected Venezuelan drug boats.
Now they feel the threat of the possible attack by the United States that they are willing to take these actions.
About 30 associates of wedding have already been arrested, including Toronto lawyer Deepak Paradkar, accused of counseling to murder an informant. The U.S. wants him extradited. Before granting him bail, the judge acknowledged a troubling reality that Paradkar could be killed to prevent him from being a cooperating witness.
If they're under investigation, they're being extradited to the United States, that's a risk to them. Even if it's a 1% risk, especially an attorney, there is a risk. So that obviously that individual needs to make sure that he's being protected.
There is a $15 million reward for information that could lead to the arrest and conviction of Ryan Wedding. He's considered the biggest cocaine trafficker in Canada and is wanted in at least 4 murders in Ontario. Wedding has been on the run since 2015. Heather.
Judy, thank you. More than a decade after it vanished without a trace, the search is resuming for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 and its more than 200 passengers, including a Canadian couple. Now, advanced underwater drones are being used to try and get some answers. Here's CTV's John Benavalli-Rao.
The newest search is taking place far out off the coast of Western Australia, with Ocean Infinity, a British-American deep-sea robotics company, using underwater drones that can dive up to 6 kilometers below the surface in the hopes of finally finding Malaysian Airlines 370.
There's reason to be hopeful. They're using the newest technology. They're at a good time of year, and they know where they have searched previously.
The Boeing 777 jet took off in 2014 on a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. On board more than 200 passengers, including this pair of Canadians. The last thing heard from the plane was sent to air traffic control 38 minutes into the flight.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Radar showed the jet made a sudden turn to the west, then south over the Indian Ocean, never to be seen again. Though debris washed ashore on a French island and along Africa's east coast. For relatives of the missing, not knowing what happened for the last 11 years has been agonizing. There were theories about pilot suicide, a fire, or hijacking, but nothing's ever been proven. Zhang Hu lives in Beijing. His mother was on the plane. He says finding that jet, his loved one, and the truth are things he must do in his lifetime. Previous searches, including by Ocean Infinity, were all fruitless, but now the company's zeroing in on 15,000 square kilometers of seabed.
They're looking at just 15,000 square kilometers compared to 250,000 square kilometers that they already searched. So they seem to think that they have a good idea that it's here.
Still, it's not clear why the company is searching that area now, with it only getting paid if the wreckage is discovered. As for the plane's black boxes, even after being underwater for more than a decade, experts say if found, the data on them should be retrievable. John Benavalli-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up.
Did we take too long to adjust? I think there's some responsibility there.
What a major immigration shift could signal for Canada's future. Iran has designated the Royal Canadian Navy a terrorist organization. The move is in response to Canada's decision to label Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist entity. Tehran says that designation, which came in 2024, broke international law. The Department of Defense deferred to Global Affairs Canada on the issue, and that department did not immediately comment. Canada is slowing the flow of immigration into this country as the new federal government takes a tougher stance on the issue. CTV's Adrian Gobriel on the consequences that have the country charting a new course.
Canada's once ambitious immigration targets have led to a hard landing.
We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years.
The former Trudeau government acknowledging they made some mistakes. In 2022, Canada welcomed more than 405,000 newcomers, with plans for 465,000 permanent residents in 2023, 485,000 in 2024, and 500,000 in 2025.
Did we take too long to adjust? I think there's some responsibility there.
The government eventually reworked its plans to decrease its target to 395,000 permanent residents this year, while lowering that number even more over the next 2 years. The about-face set in motion a seismic shift in Canada's immigration policy that has played out over the last 12 months.
We've got this huge influx of people on Canadian soil expecting permanent residence who won't get it.
The number of international student visas were slashed this year, leading to college and university program cancellations and sweeping job cuts.
We're seeing one of the largest mass layoffs in Ontario's history.
A cap on international student permits that began in 2024 and into 2025 will see a further reduction in 2026. As Frost Weeks rolled onto campus this year, international students were taking note.
A lot of international students dream of studying abroad. I have a sister. She might be wanting to study abroad, and caps like this are affecting her.
It's a concern shared by Canadian university executives.
60% decrease in the number of new students approved to attend Canadian universities in the first quarter of this year. They, in fact, help pay for more spots for Canadian-born students to attend university because international students pay higher tuition fees.
Ottawa put a limit on foreign students in part to help ease the pressure on the cost of rental housing while trying to reduce the burden on hospitals and other public infrastructure and social services. Citizenship Canada says its aim is also to create a pipeline of international student graduates whose skills match the country's long-term economic and labor needs. Adding eligible fields include healthcare, social services, education, and the trades. In his first news conference in May following the federal election, newly minted Prime Minister Mark Carney pulled in the reins on immigration even tighter.
We will return our immigration to sustainable levels by capping the total number of temporary workers.
That led to an outcry from some labor groups, even a lawsuit against the federal government, filed by a conglomerate of Quebec-based businesses who claim they're losing money and now unable to fill vacant job postings.
These companies either have to slow down production, refuse contracts, and in certain cases, they will even close down certain shifts. We can think of weekend shifts, night shifts, because we can't find the workers that we need.
The Carney government has pressed on, promising to cap the level of foreign workers and international students by less than 5% of the country's population. The 2025 federal budget highlighted that in 2018, 3.3% of Canada's population were temporary residents. By 2024, that number had more than doubled to 7.5%, an unprecedented rate of growth that put pressure on housing supply, the healthcare system, and schools. Canada's new government recognizes that this system is no longer sustainable.
We will work to attract the best talent in the world to build our economy.
The recent spike in the country's population has in part resulted in nearly zero GDP per capita growth over the last number of years, meaning the slice of the economic pie is getting smaller for each Canadian. A country built on the back of immigration has now recalibrated as it charts a new course into an uncertain economic future. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead tonight. How police in Newfoundland are trying to get one step ahead of a New Year's rush. Police across this country have a warning for Canadians as they prepare for a busy New Year's Eve. CTV's Garrett Barry has more on their message from a checkpoint near St. John's.
Do a quick roadside check to make sure nobody's drinking.
Police surprised drivers near St. John's with this temporary checkpoint today. As vehicles passed, they also got a reminder from Mad Canada to drive responsibly and soberly during the holiday season.
Thank you for driving sober. We do appreciate it.
According to a study by the Traffic Injury Research Foundation, attitudes on drunk driving across the country are changing. More drivers, when asked this year, say they've gotten behind the wheel after consuming alcohol. That number is up to more than 15%. And fewer Canadians surveyed said they felt drinking drivers are a serious problem.
There's no excuse now for drinking and driving. There was never an excuse for drinking and driving, but even less so now. We've got so many other options.
Martin Wiseman says between taxis and ride-sharing apps, it has never been easier to find a sober and reliable ride home. Thank you.
The attitude is, oh, it's Christmas, have a drink. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, we're not saying don't have a drink. What we're saying is make a sensible, safe choice, and if you're going to drink, don't drive.
These officers are looking for signs of any driving infractions. In fact, they have found some today, but this is also a show of force to remind drivers tomorrow that police will be on the roads.
So our presence in the community, we're hoping that deters impaired driving. We're hoping that everyone complies. As it's a good reminder just before the New Year's Eve.
Numbers gathered by Statistics Canada show police reported fewer impaired drivers in 2024 when compared to previous years. That number has been slowly falling since 2020, but the holiday season is a busy time of year, with gatherings at bars and homes. The message for drivers today: drive safely and responsibly tomorrow night. Garrett Barry, CTV News in Outer Cove, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Still ahead, from parking woes to a broken dishwasher. The most absurd calls to 911 you'll have to hear to believe. "911 dispatchers have heard it all, and as 2025 comes to a close, operators in one province are sharing the most unusual occasions that put their patience to the test. CTV's Andrew Johnson on some of the silliest supposed emergency calls.
911, do you need police, fire, or ambulance?
At British Columbia's busiest 911 dispatch center, every call could involve a life or death situation.
We can have anything like stabbings or shootings, assaults, very high priority calls.
And every call could also be a big waste of time.
Okay, so you landed at the airport and then you're trying to get into your Airbnb, but the door is locked. Are you safe right now? Okay, well, unfortunately, because it's not an emergency, we won't be able to assist you with it.
ECOM in BC handles more than 2 million 911 calls per year. Its target is to answer 95% of those calls within 5 seconds.
911.
So they'd rather you not call if someone stole your parking spot.
Sorry, so you're calling 911 because you wanted to take a parking spot, but somebody else took your parking spot, but then you saw that this person wasn't going into Starbucks, they were actually using that parking spot to go into Fraser Mart.
Don't like your haircut? Take it up with your stylist.
What are you wanting police to do?
If you're being harassed by a hornet, call the exterminator, not 911.
Okay, are you, safe, I guess, besides the hornet being there?
When it feels like gridlock is going to be the end of you, resist the urge.
You don't call 911 for a traffic report. That's inappropriate use of this.
Finally, it can feel life or death if you're about to miss your flight, but first responders can't do anything about your oversized carry-on.
Well, unfortunately, the police can't help you with that. If that's the rule of the airline, you have to follow the rule of the airline.
Honorable mentions this year go to the person who was looking for emergency help when their dishwasher wouldn't work, and the caller who was upset Walmart wouldn't allow them to return their air fryer. There's always 2026. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
And that is our newscast for this Tuesday. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Wishing you all the best as you ring in the new year. I'll see you back here on Friday. Good night.